Carillion was in negotiations by the government with October as portion of a frantic bid to staff off crash, on to the head execution. Keith Cochrane says the building gigantic was leftward in fair £29meter in cash money by the period it went bosom on Monday. Before the recent moments, directors yet believed a save was probable, but banks became more than needing, he told. The detailed information are turned on in a paper Mr. Cochrane has produced as portion of the inconsistency trial. His declaration sets out attempts to rescue Britain's other largest building business following 3 profits warnings and a crash in the stake cost. Efforts to sell off components of the industry, unsuccessful, and Carillion's banks became more than needing, just assenting crisp financing by tightly new facility how the business was incapable to encounter, the declaration discloses. Down there had been routine meetings by the government and its advisors in the definitive few months of 2017, Mr. Cochrane says. But on December 31 a official query was done for supporting of by the government. Though as deceased as recent weekend, directors believed how a structural dialogue was underway in banks and by the government on provided brief-term financing. Directors requested by the government to warranty more than financing for 4 persons months' time. Carillion extended its reorganization, and be permitted to postpone tax payments. Both of customer request were rejected, on to Mr. Cochrane. But his paper adds how specific of the team's lenders took simplex activity that in the business's type undermined the team's efforts to save cash money. He acquaintance out King Banking of Scotland, RBS, as one of the banks how requested to levy hard new credit facility. Fleeing out of cash money, and proper more than rather than pound to its banks, Carillion proclaimed himself bankrupt on Monday, quite rather than try and need authority of Carillion in the expect of salvaging thing of the industry. The formal radio was equipped to abolish the industry. Accountants EY and PwC both of discarded customer request to be administrators since down there was no cash leftward to hold the business tick above, Mr. Cochrane says. Same judgment of the banking was how the reorganization schedule put striker by the business was not sustainable and thus we took the hard judgment not to expand future financing and growth our exposition to the industry. We requirement to balance sheet the interests of all our interested parties while take these decisions, and on how base, we sadly were not in a stance to go on to put future cash in the industry. Meantime, Exchequer Secretary Liz Farm said the House of Commons on Tuesday how it would be fully incorrect for a social business how got himself in the country to be bailed out by the country. Industry Registrar Greg Clark has requested for an inquiry by the formal radio to be expanded and quick-tracked. The hold of directors in accusation at the period of the business's fail and early directors will be discussed. The business involved 43,000 human beings world, 20,000 in the UK, and had 450 contracts in the UK by the government. By the government has told how personnel and contractors work on social segment facility contracts will go on to be pay. But down there is anxiety how big projects, consisting the building of hospitals and roads, will be detained time the detailed information are treated of. Down there are as well big trouble for an alleged 30,000 less firms that include been work on Carillion projects in the individual segment. Lot are owed cash and person expect to discover out if they will get any of it behind. It says how the receiver is speaking to Carillion's individual segment clients on that services will go on, yet contracts will be ended if the customers no much longer wants to pay for them. No one has been sacked at the spot and personnel will go on to be pay for the job they execute, a representative for the inconsistency facility told. Andy Bradley is the operating CEO of Vegetation Tech, that is owed £800,000 by Carillion for gardening services. Same by the government vigorously emboldened business community Love Pit, to get implicated in social segment contracts, to do certainly the slight guy got a piece of the cake while Carillion begun to get in anxiety recent year we were examining how we would scope behind our participation in them. Yet, by the government extended to offer them £1 trillion agreement following £1 trillion agreement and how told to me, as a little provider, how by the government had made their due zeal. We were next by the government conduct, just to be taking into account a suckling toddy. I had to do 10 human beings excess day yesterday. How's 10 human beings in mortgages, car loans, all how material. He's in total shame. Carillion was hit by price overruns on big projects, problems in contracts in the Medium East and a big deficiency in the business retirement schema. Financial CEO Richard Adam, who retired in December 2016 following 9-year at Carillion, acquired nearly £1 in wages and bonuses in 2016. As the hold of directors, the part of Carillion's accountant KPMG will be discussed by the Finance Accountability Justice. It is essential we rapidly get the complete image of the events that inflicted Carillion to come elimination, told Mr. Clark in a declaration. All testimony of offense will be undertaken really severely, he told. You can as well pin us in the next ways.